Hey guys, I never knew the way that I was dreaming under a possibility ceiling until this one conversation and this flicker of a phrase made its way into my life. And ever since that day, possibilities have been unlocked. I have a feeling this episode will contain an eye opening perspective for you too on a limiting belief that you may not even know you have and a tiny three-word phrase that could be your key to creating a new reality too. It wasn't until just recently that I shared about this pivotal conversation that happened in my life. As I recalled the memory, like I could still see his face, and I remember the utter shock that I felt throughout my body, almost in disbelief of his answer. So, my husband Shane and I, we were sitting on our back patio. It was just a normal, casual weekend. This was several years ago. Kids were playing out in the yard. The sun was warming our faces, and we were just having a great conversation about the Tony Robbins seminar that I had just spent time watching. So now, before I share with you the question that I asked my husband and the shocking answer he had, let me just start by saying that Shane has always been a cheerleader for me and for our life. And he would tell you that everything we've worked for in our life has been a dream come true, and that our life has long been one that he's very proud of and very happy with. Like we've done things and we've been to places and experienced things that neither of us, if you would have asked us even 10 years ago, really would have thought was possible. I mean, for gosh sakes, for parents, that still blows our minds, right? Like hands down, he is a believer in possibility. So, as we were sitting there, we're talking about just the inspiring content of the seminar. And I had this thought hit me like a board to the face. It was like something I had never even thought of before. And it was just this cold, hard question around like, could we really live an even greater, grander, bigger life than the one we were already living? Because in so many ways, and not that things were perfect, but in so many ways, we had maxed out solid careers. I mean, a great home, incredible community, strong faith. Our kids were growing. We had a loving marriage. Family vacations were on the book. Money was in the savings account. I mean, by no means am I bragging. I just want to let you know, like stuff was pretty darn good, and we were doing darn well for ourselves. And then I asked him, hey, babe, honestly, like truly, do you think that we could ever live like a real, like multimillionaires with just so much wealth that we don't even know what to do with ourselves, like a better than this kind of life? And you want to know what he said? He looked me dead in the face and with all confidence said, no, no, I don't. And besides the utter shock that rolled through my body, and even like greater trigger, greater overwhelming sense of curiosity arose. I was like, well, why not? And wasn't in my normal like challenger fighter sense, like, well, why not? No, it was a genuine, well, why not? I wanted to know. And he so graciously and humbly yet confidently, and I would say compassionately too, he just started to justify his answer, really diving into this concept that I think hits so many of us when we start to dream beyond what we know to be realistic limits. And his answer just simply came back to this concept of like, well, we've never actually known or seen like in close proximity that kind of wealth. And he was right. Sure, we knew successful people, and there were many who would lump us into that category too. But the things that we were sitting there starting to dream about were things like being able to write a $100,000 check to a charity just because it was a cause we really believed in, or to go out and buy that property with cash and build those homes for our loved ones so we could all be in close proximity, or to have the means to be an angel investor in someone else's dream. Or I could literally go on with 100 other things that we started to think were truly, if I'm being honest, at that time, not something maybe that we thought was actually written into our story in this lifetime. And as I sat there, I remember feeling just so shocked, but I also remember feeling like this reality stick, was probably for the best. And that the big boldness of my curiosity in this, hey, let's sit here and dream for a moment, maybe it had just been wasted time. But then, and in my repentance, I remember muttering these words. But what if? What if? Sure, maybe it's not realistic for us today, but what if? What if we didn't accept that our ceiling was just the things that we had been previously exposed to? What if we chose to believe that we were here now in this moment, asking this question, having this conversation for the sole reason that we could challenge ourselves and our own limiting beliefs? Heck, what if we tried? What if we did become those people who could do all of those things that we had never personally seen done? Wouldn't that be one hell of a story? Wouldn't that be the exposure that we'd want to make sure was available for our kids so that they could have that kind of a life? What if we changed the things we were doing, the things that had gotten us here, so that we could be around and so that we could create that kind of a reality for ourselves? And that, my friend, sparked a whole series of events that has absolutely led me here today on this journey here with you. And that slight perspective shift is what I'm hoping that you take with you from today, too, is that, like, how often do we start to dream and write resolutions or goals that have to do with this idea of, if we're being honest with ourselves, like our ceiling is just a slightly better life, right? Like, we become happy if we could lose just 10 pounds when our ideal best ever would maybe be losing like 20 pounds and changing your health entirely so that you can finally do that marathon. Or we say if we could have a slightly higher bonus this year, we'd be happy. We literally allow ourselves to dream in increments of the standard cost of living raise, and we settle when the W 2 comes in slightly better than last year's. So often, I see so many of us keeping our dreams underneath the ceiling of reality that we've just been exposed to. But newsflash, there are people out there writing $100,000 checks to causes they believe in. And there are people out there coming back from health crises and having stronger bodies in their mid aged years than they have ever before. And there are, my friend, so many more out there making more than just the average cost of living raise. And if they can, then you can too, right? Like, that's just a law of nature. If they can, you can too. And sure, I know so many of us, right? And I'm these conversations that I have, I know, like, we want to throw our hands up and we want to look at circumstance. Oh, well, she was born with a silver spoon in her mouth. Or, oh, he knew the right people and got the job. Or, well, they don't have to deal with whatever, right? Like, fill in the blank. If you look hard enough, though, there are too many success stories out there about people who had, like, who I can guarantee you had less ideal circumstances than you, which again, I say such a loving, like, reminder to myself too, is that this isn't a circumstance thing. This is a, how big are you willing to dream and how much are you willing to align your life to that dream? That day on the patio in the conversation with my husband, it unlocked a limiting belief that both of us had carried our whole lives without even realizing it. We knew that we wanted more for our family, and we had put all of our efforts and all of our years behind creating that, like, top tier kind of life that we had seen others built. And then we wanted more. And although I worked through a whole lot of, like, guilt and worthiness baggage that we can dive into another episode, another time for that whole concept of like just wanting more. Ultimately, we made a different conscious choice that we wanted to redefine our success and to like redefine our dreams too, to be on our terms in a way that aligned to dreams placed on our hearts and not limitations of just what we had been exposed to. So, the unjuggle summary today is this: that when you are thinking and dreaming of your grandest, biggest, boldest, like dreamiest life possible, what do you see? And only after you answer that question, I challenge you to go back and allow yourself to actually dream one step beyond what you thought of. So, like, let's play with this. So, if you thought of buying a new car, I want you to allow yourself to dream about buying a new car and never having a car payment again because you're able to just buy it outright. Or if you thought of not having to live paycheck to paycheck ever again, I want you to allow yourself to dream about having so much wealth you could give some of it intentionally and thoughtfully away. If you thought about your business, maybe it's like, hey, I want your business to impact 100 people this year. I want you to allow yourself to dream about impacting 500 people and the force for good that you'd be out in the marketplace. Heck yes. Can you imagine? And at first, maybe you can't. So maybe it's more rhetorical, but then wait for that little thought to creep in that says, but what if? And that little flicker of possibility could be all that you need to ignite a new reality for you too. And I really hope that it does. And the next time that you're dreaming underneath a ceiling, I hope that you come back to this knowing that anything is possible and that you were meant for more. I believe in you. I believe in me. I believe in all of us. I believe in all the things that we are here for to uncover the greatness inside us. And this is absolutely like when you start to think about that dream and when you're ready to actually create an action plan that sets you up to achieve those big bold dreams of yours, like let's chat. This is my shameless plug here. I want to be the coach in your corner. I'd love to work with you, whether that's one-on-one or in my group programs or just anything I could do to help you unlock that courage and that clarity as you create just lasting change and more alignment to purpose and joy and that freedom that's possible for you too, my friend. So check the show notes or the website for details. I always put stuff in there. We're going to keep dreaming big. We got this. And if you're wondering if Shane and I still believe that our old reality was as good as it could get, no way. Since that day, we have unlocked new milestones in our marriage, in our life for our kids, in our adventures across the world, in the way that we give, in the way that we show up in our communities, and just in the way that we're building businesses that are thriving and impact and everything around that. So, who would have thought that the power of three little words, but what if, could have that kind of stronghold in our lives? Like so life changing. So I can't wait to hear about your dreams coming true. But what if? And until next time, bye. Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode. It means the world to me that you're here to ride in the struggle bus with me and that you're willing to consider different perspectives, tools, and techniques that just might provide a little bit of relief and get you one step closer to the abundance that is available and waiting for us all. I hope you take a moment to grant yourself some grace where you've been denying it, some love where you didn't realize maybe it was right in front of you, and some faith where you thought all was lost. If this episode had an impact on you, would you please share a comment with a review? I'd love to hear what landed for you, and it helps us get the word out to our fellow struggle bus riders. So please review what was impactful for you. Just know these episodes are a pure labor of love in a space where I'm growing alongside you. I'm evolving every day, and I look forward to all the ways and the things and the perspectives and opinions and choices that will change over the course of time in my own life, day to day. Until next time, just know that you are loved, you are divinely cared for, and in the struggle, the journey of this life really is beautiful. I'm glad that we're in it together. Cheers.